Good afternoon and happy Sunday. Welcome to Let's Talk About You. I am always honored and privileged to have you joining us. It's a new month. Could you believe we're in the second quarter of the year already? Ooh, welcome, April. Welcome, April. And we know what we celebrate here in St. Thomas in April. It's the beginning of what? The carnival season. But before we get into today's show, because I am so excited to talk about something I usually don't talk about, I want to say thank you so much to our sponsors, Kiki Creations and Infinitely Me. Without you, we would not be here today. And I just want to say thank you to our sponsors. Thank you, Kiki Creations and Infinitely Me. And if you want to be a part of the Let's Talk About You team, give us a DM message or contact me directly. You know how to find me. Listen, it is Sunday afternoon. It's the first month of our second season. And today I have such a phenomenal guest. He is one of the busiest persons I've ever met. I know that I am busy. I have Mr. Shamari Haynes. He is a mover and a shaker. Now, when I met with my team to, what is it that we should talk about in April? What should we do? Because really, I will put my disclaimer out there. I'm not a carnival person, but I am a creative person. And I've always been intrigued about why, how, what made them think of that? And this is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk to Mr. Shamari Haynes. He's one of the designers of a carnival troupe, Simply Sophisticated Fun Troupe. And without further ado, hey, Mr. Haynes. Hey.
Hi, how are you doing? Good afternoon, happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday and welcome to Let's Talk About You. Thank you so much for saying yes to us. It is
You are
such an
most
honor
welcome.
and privilege to have you here.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Haynes, tell our listening audience, for those that don't know who you are, exactly who Mr. Shamari Haynes is and what your current position is, because your current position really intrigued me as to our show today.
So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shamari Haynes. I'm the founder and co-creative director of the Simply Sophisticated Fun Troupe and Savage Festival based here in St. Croix, U.S. Virgin Islands. I'm operated in dual roles presently. I'm the assistant director for the division of festivals for the district of St. Croix, and I also serve as the deputy commissioner with the Department of Tourism.
Isn't that phenomenal? So when I was referred to you, I was like, I wanted someone that designs costume, and you came highly recommended. And not only did you come highly recommended, when I heard about your role in the tourism, I was like, you don't work. Your hobby, your passion is what you do. I mean, and it is said, and it is fact. I can preach to that. When you do something that you love, you're not working. You're just enjoying every minute of it. So, Mr. Haynes, let's just jump right into your creativity and your creative background. When did you say, let me take my passion and begin this sophisticated venture?
So I started Simply Sophisticated Fun Troupe in 2008. I've been a part of Crucian Christmas Festival, Carnival for as long as I know myself. When the St. Clair Educational Complex High School decided that they were not doing or hosting a carnival troupe or a festival troupe, then I found it as an opportunity for me to start my own, having been working with the educational complex as well as the Other Richards Junior High School's festival troops. So in 2008, It was supposed to be a 1 year venture, but that 1 year turned into what will now be 17 years. I decided to start my own. And then in 2018, when Simply Sophisticated celebrated its 15th anniversary, I started, or 10, was it? I think the 10th anniversary, I started Savage Festival, which is a second festival troupe catering to a different type of reveler, quote unquote, or audience. And that has been pretty fulfilling as well. So I'm the only person in the Virgin Islands to have two carnival troops within the same parades. So it poses its challenges because
You
the
try
two
to
different.
outdo yourself?
Not necessarily. But I did notice that there is opportunity for us to tap into different markets, different type of revelers who may be looking for maybe a more exclusive experience. And as from a design stance, maybe something a little more daring. So it forced me to spread my wings a little bit, and challenge myself a little bit more, to present something different, which have also been a bit controversial. Um, but that is all a part of change as well.
Well, and it's a part of growth.
Yes,
Sometimes we can't grow without a little controversy. So, in addition to your background, so you started when it couldn't be done. You decided you're going to open that door and make a way.
correct.
Or did you also study design in any way?
No, no. Majority of everything has been trial and error. I've, had the I'm fortunate enough to have had the opportunity to work underneath Miss Lisa Molyneux and Stephen Derrick, who passed a few years ago. So a lot of my training, a lot of the things that I did, all mass as we refer to, I've been, underneath their wing, as well as the wings of Mr. Felix Anthony, and Mr. Albert Lockhart. So, I had some mentors, but as my carnival troupe grew, we started to do things a bit different. So I kind of more or less did everything through trial and error, like I mentioned. So it's been an experience, but again, a very fulfilling one.
Well, I mean, you're motivating me as well, because when you have a passion or a desire to do things, you do it. That drive gives you the opportunity to come up with your ideas. So it will work.
Correct.
And you're right. I haven't heard of anyone that has two troops in one parade. I've heard about one person being a part of many troops, but you're the co-creator of these two ventures. So that as brings out your creativity. So one is more risque and the other one is more less risque, should I say?
Yeah, I like to describe the two different carnival troops as a big sister and a little sister. Simply
Okay.
Sophisticated would be the bigger sister, because she has been around for the longer length of time, and simply kind of grew with us, right? So at the age of 16, I was in 11th grade, and simply kind of went through a transition. The growth from high school, the growth from us doing college and kind of growing up. But also during that time frame, that 17-year time frame, the look at carnival also changed. So we went from the old mass era into what is now bikini and beads. So the traditional version of festival of carnival, throughout the region has changed. So simply kind of grew a bit. I have young ladies who have been participating in Simply Sophisticated from its inception, and I've came home every single year to make sure that they don't miss the experience with us. Savage Festival grew out of me wanting to do a little bit more, right? It catered to one woman alone. We knew that we always wanted to keep Savage Festival under 100 members, make it very exclusive, but make it very risky. And that has been an experience. What I found is with Savage Festival, we started to tap into revelers who did a lot more travel, right? So they did the Trinidad carnivals, they, did the Jamaica carnival, they went to the Bahamas, they're a little bit more experienced and know what they wanted. But it also allowed me to push the bar as it relates to service. So there's just a lot more things that you could do with a smaller carnival troupe that you cannot do with a bigger carnival troupe. But I'm fortunate enough to have a very, very, very strong team. So when I took on the venture to start a second carnival troupe or festival troupe, my team immediately was like, "Whoa, what are you thinking?" But they understood the vision because simply, we host over 1,000 members. In the Savage, we look anywhere between 50 to 80 members, but then the core team did not grow. So we took on more headache. But just logistically, it just became a lot more for us to handle. But we've been knocking it out of the park. So I'm blessed and
That,
excited.
But one thing I want to really piggyback on when you mentioned about how things have changed, because over the years, I definitely have seen basically on the way sideline. My sideline is behind at home. Maybe I may turn the TV on and watch a parade or not. That's how far beyond in the sidelines I have been. And the costumes have become less and less. But I just wanted to know the not only the mindset behind it, as you said, it deals with persons that have been traveled and they wanted to bring what it is they've been exposed to home. Is that where some of the ideas have come from?
Yes, somewhat. So before I jump into that, let me mention this. On my end, right, as it relates to my designs and my carnival troops, we definitely cater to who want to be seen and who want that picture moment as it relates to something really sexy for a bunch of likes, right? To be in a social media space. However, we also take into heavy consideration what I refer to as your average woman, right? So we just have some ladies that are just voluptuous and cannot help it. But we also know that those ladies want to have options as it relates to design. So we offer different options. We offer the whole piece bodywear options. We offer high waist panties. And the female body is just so interesting. You have some ladies who might be very heavy busted and may absolutely hate being heavy busted, uh, but want to have that sense of security that they could go out on the road and feel a sense of I guess security
Comfort.
would be it, right? You want to be covered, right? You want to make sure that girls don't fall out if you decide to do a little something, right? So we provide a bunch of different options as it relates to different body types, and I'm making sure that the level of the reveler is the comfort level of the reveler is taken into consideration. But as it relates to the change of designs throughout the region, throughout carnival in the world, I should say, Brazil is the mother of all carnivals in the world, and Trinidad is the mother of all Caribbean carnivals. The industry from a design stance have changed. It's kind of like a rolling ball, right? So once Trinidad put out their designs, they did an excellent job at marrying fashion and that sex appeal with carnival designs. It kind of like they would basically put into motion what is the trend for that year for carnival, and then other Caribbean regions would follow based on whatever designer you might whatever designs might be trending, right? It's kind of like how at the beginning of every year, Pantone would say that this is the color of the year. And all these interior designers
Okay.
and fashion designers would design around Pantone, color include Pantone, trending
So
color
we do
throughout the
have
year.
colors of the year for carnival.
Not necessarily colors of the year, but I would say designs of the year. One,
Okay.
there are some trending themes that you may see within different Caribbean islands or regions, and then there may be like some prints. It just depends on what that specific designer might be interested in making the team or their team for the entire year, no matter the design. So it depends. It
Okay.
all
That's good to know. And
yes.
that's so with these trends, it has created this whole new venture, this whole new group of the way people revel. Is that what you're doing now?
More or less. I don't necessarily want to speak for all designers, but I could more so speak to my thought process and the thought process of the circle that I'm in as it relates to my team and then some really, really close designer friends that I have. But carnival is a trend, right? And it changes. I can use Tribe in Trinidad as an example. So Tribe caters to, who want to be in the inn, right? Who want the sexy feel of carnival. But then there's also Lost Tribe. And Lost Tribe, it caters to those individuals who may want that sense of like traditional carnival and omas back into carnival. But so it gives you a little bit of bikini and beads, but it's balanced with art, and it's balanced with fashion, but it's also balanced with a sense of old mass. So there's two different carnival troops that caters to two different type of revelers. The challenge that I'm presently facing, I kind of just give a little goal nugget there, is how we merge the two and make them.
That was going to be my question. With the old mask and the new one, how do you merge the two? Because I'm not going to say I'm not intrigued about some of them. And you're right. When I look and I see where the costumes have come to, and I will say that, sometimes being a peanut gallery is like, ooh, or the lack of costumes.
Yeah.
It's so little. And I was like, not saying that we need to go be backwards, but how can we merge what was and what is? Because it takes so much creativity to think outside the box. And even though the costumes are less than they were back in the day, it does take a lot of art. And I do love art and I do love creativity. And I'm so intrigued by that. So I wanted to know what. So yes, tell us about the merging.
So this is a direction that I'm hoping to go this year with my designs. I have all the designs all penciled out. I have the full looks in my carnival troupe in my head, because my design process is I don't necessarily just look at one design or one person in a design. I look at the troupe mentally from a whole and what I expect for it to look like on the streets. So carnival is kind of like, I believe that we bring art to the street. That's what I see. So for me mentally, it is beyond, the big wing backpack. It is beyond the beautiful colors. It is beyond how nice the shape of a wire bra might be. It is more so for me about the story that we are trying to tell, what we are trying to portray, as well as providing options that are economical and easy on the pockets, because carnival is also very, very expensive. And the industry goes up every year. But what this year, what we hope to do is we're hoping to merge the two. So I've already told my team you're gonna have two different opinions. It's either it's going to be loved, or it's going to be not so loved. But I do believe that this is us again taking that step out. And it might work in our favor. Listen to the feedback from the community every year. But being one of those individuals, or one of the oldest festival troops in St. Croix, I think that it is my responsibility to more or less bring back some sense of OMAS and transition back to what we originally knew. Because festival here in St. Croix was not always the bikini and beads. We watched, throughout the years, we watched things transition and we began to look like Trinidad. But we kind of want to look like ourselves again, or at least have some sense.
I love that. Yes, I love that. And speaking about that, let's take a look at some of your designs. They're in no particular order, but we did create based on what it is that you sent to us. And I just want you to talk about some of the designs that you have done in the past.
Okay.
So let's talk about
this one. Design was from 2019, 2020. This was the last design right before the pandemic came. We rebranded Simply Sophisticated this year. We had just ended a relationship with an entertainer that we had for 10 years, and we kind of wanted to go a different direction. Believe it or not, this particular design was like not planned, right? So I did all of the other sections, and then while shopping and looking at materials, I picked up that bra, and I was like, I like this color, And in the design process and putting all the other sections together, I was like, I'm using this. So I just started to pull different pieces, different elements that I had really liked, and then that's how this came about. And actually, I fell in love. I'm still in love with it to this day. I think that it had, and the section was well purchased, I guess, if I could say that. We had made some really good numbers. We surpassed the numbers that we originally wanted. And surprisingly, a lot of our full-figured ladies actually joined this section. So I was not expecting to for the section to cater to full-figure ladies. Whenever I design, I try to incorporate my designs around different type of revelers as well as different type of age groups, because again, representation and inclusivity is great. That's at the basis of what I do from a design stance. But this section really it took my breath away. And looking at it again, it was actually named Opulence. It gave what I needed it to give.
Okay, I do love the colors.
Yes.
I am a purple girl. Let's look at another one. Talk about these.
So I'm glad that these three photos are grouped together, because they're all sentimental, right? So I'm gonna start with the Madras skirt on the left. So the Madras skirt, this was our 10th anniversary. And the reason why we use Madras in this design is because for our 10th anniversary, what I did is I brought back all of my designs from the 9-year period, and I had put a spin on them. White was the base color of all the designs. So if one year we pull a costume from the second year, what we do is we pull some designs and we made it white. This Madras skirt is very key to this design because we started the very first year with Madras. So this kind of provided us the opportunity to, and if you look at it, it's a seamless fuse of fabric as well as bikini and beads. They have the feathers, it has the flare. Right side of that, the yellow and blue, this year, this was 2019, 2020 as well. This theme was Maleficent. We wanted to do something fun, vibrant, colorful. This section gave me so much nightmare. just so much anxiety in the design process. But it was the first design that I did for that 1 year. And I know that I wanted to cater it to high school girls. That 16, 14, 19, 20. That was where we wanted them to go, and they went directly to it. They gravitated directly to it. And it was a top seller. The costumes at the top, very controversial. This design we brought back, or we did when festival came back for the first time after the pandemic. I was very iffy about it because again, it's very daring. And this isn't the only option as it relates to bodywear for this design. But this section was like ridiculous. We had over 200 people within this one section. Everybody was feeling it. I really pushed myself with this one specific design, forced me to step out of my box. Whenever I'm doing something that is not my norm, I always suffer with some form of anxiety. Because again, you're stepping into a place of the unknown. You don't know how people might feel about it. You're not too sure how the reveler might gravitate towards it. But that section actually took my breath away. So I feel good. I'm very excited that you put three of them together.
So you would say that section was a part that got you not only anxiety, it was one of the difficult ones, but you overcame it because it was better than you would expected.
Yes, most certainly.
Good. Let's talk about these beauties.
So you did such an awesome job.
That's Crystal, my producer. I would love to take credit, but I cannot.
Well, she is the bomb. And I would love to know her thought process as to why she grouped the pictures like this. So the picture to the left, we used the black and white zebra print. I would say I consider that one particular year, that one particular design to be a transition year of Simply. This year we had a bunch of older ladies at that time that had joined the Troupe. and the festival troupe grew from being that high school troupe into, stepping into the adult space. Those costumes, they they read so well on the road. It really told a story. I kind of wanted it to, be my version of a tribe. If Simply Sophisticated was in Africa and we were going to war, this is what I wanted my tribe to look like. And this is just one of 3 designs. The costume to the right of it, the yellow and blue, this is actually from Simply's 5th anniversary. And those costumes, we actually had just stepped into the bikini and beads era of festival. So this was the very first year that we, used feathers. This was the very first year. We're still using beads at the time. Nobody really uses beads anymore. I've been seeing beads in some designs as of recent, but beads is not a thing that people really use. We still had that fringe skirt look. So there was still some level of coverage. No, there's no level of coverage at all. But this is a next transition year for Simply. So the costumes were all homegrown. We mass produced all the costumes here on island. Everything was done locally from beginning to end by my team.
Are you a seamstress as well?
Huh?
Are you a seamstress as well?
Yes, but I try my best not to put that out because I absolutely hate so it is a skill that I have, but it's just not something that I absolutely love to do. But if I have to, I will. I'm fortunate enough to.
You'll have a conversation about the fabric I have, but that's another conversation.
Okay, that's fine. I actually sewing. I actually was sewing longer than I've been designing. Actually, I actually started out sewing, and then being in that space, that's when I realized, or that's when I discovered my love for carnival, and the merge of fashion into designs that read well. So that's kind of how I ended up there. The costume to the top is our most recent presentation. After the pandemic, we had a really good experience, good time on the road, but I kind of wanted to take it back home and pay homage to 1 woman, and 2, I wanted something that was a lot more meaningful. So this one particular presentation forced me to do a lot of research. The team was The Awakening. We represented or told a story of 5 African queens who were leaders of their tribe during their time. And this one costume was in tribute of Queen Nzinga. And there's an actual picture of Queen Nzinga that's pretty popular that I used as the inspiration. So we pull a red from it. We wanted to again make sure that there's a proper color. So that's where other colors are on the outside behind of the red. It was definitely my favorite section to work with. It was the first section that I did. It was the one section that I had not necessarily much editing to do. Usually in my design process, I would put together a costume, rest my eyes, sleep on it, and get back up, look at it the next day and see if there's anything that I want to change or something that I'm not necessarily feeling. This one section required no edits really. I added some more pieces, but it was like smooth sailing, in and out.
So when you say this, and is it based on your team, the feedback that you get from your initial team? Are you the main designer, and then you have your team? You guys go back and forth, ask what you guys think will work for that year?
So I do all of the conceptualization. I do all of the research. I do the entire process is all me. The design process, it's all me from beginning to end. What I did as of recent is I have 2 members in particular on my team who who I brought along from very initial start of any presentation because in my thought process, I want them to get full understanding in regards to how this works and what it is, right? So they could also get a better appreciation of the process, right? But as I begin to actually put the costumes together, it is all me. And then I run it by my sister and my very, very close friend. And then they would give some feedback, what they like, what they don't like, what they think might be functional, because functionality on the road is very important. Ladies want to be able to use the restroom and not have to take off too much or pull back on too much. Sometimes you just want to use the restroom, get back on the road, 5 minutes. So functionality is also at the base of the designs. Because that is something that we take into consideration. Members sometimes, or revelers are sometimes on the road from 9 a.m. until 11 p.m. We have revelers who come out on the road later, 12 p.m., and they're in the village all night. Or, sometimes they're there from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. You just want to make sure that folks are very comfortable, but there's some level of freeness in the event that you need to, take off something or put something out.
Well, that is good, and I did enjoy the fact that you spoke about the transition over the years, and not only the transition over the years that it wasn't just feathers and beads. It was covering. Yes, you're going minimal, but then you're still having the conversation as let's be inclusive, even though you're being exclusive. So you have your inclusive. You're being inclusive and yet being exclusive. I love that.
Yeah, I try my best. And
go ahead.
Real quick. So because we've been doing this for such a long time, I've had the opportunity to see what carnival was and what carnival presently is and the direction that it's heading. So I'm fortunate to be able to pivot in a moment if I have to, right? And that's one of the next pros of it being fully homegrown and me doing the work by myself. I don't necessarily have to depend on anyone to make a switch or make a change. It's all in-house.
I want to know if you're looking at my questions, because my next question was, how do you prioritize all these tasks? And you're telling me now you pivot from one and it's an easy flow.
Yeah. Sometimes designers, international designers, they work on one section, sometimes 2, 3 sections the most for carnival troops elsewhere, right? So your brain, for the most part, is just wrapped around one design. Materials for one design, colors for one design, fabrics for just one design. I'm doing it for 5 and 6, sometimes 7 and 8. So my brain is sometimes in overload. So I have to jot things down, make notes all the time, because I see everything together as a collection versus just one design that I'm just trying to sell. So I don't know how I am able to prioritize what is what. I think I work better because I prioritize everything. So I try to develop my time. If I can spend, an hour on this section or a day on this section, and the goal is to be finished within a week. But when it's all done, then I put everything all together on mannequins to look at the designs together as a whole, like I mentioned. So.
Oh, I mean, that is great, because you have your feedback from your good friend and your sister, and then you bring it to the masses. And you said, even though, can we go back a little bit and talk about some of the controversies you said that you've experienced and how you have overcome those controversies? Because I know you move forward and you've gone forward any which way, but let us talk about it a little bit, what you faced with that controversy.
So I think the biggest conversation around the designs that I put up for Carnival is the fact that there is a particular generation and a opinion from some that as the assistant director of festivals and the head or the lead of festivals for the District of St. Croix, it is my responsibility to bring back what we know to be us. So that's that one opinion and the one conversation. But as a millennial and somebody who is well traveled and somebody who is in the industry, I know the importance of us making carnival costumes appealing to the masses outside of Cruise and Christmas Festival, right? There are people who literally carnival hop. So being in a space where I have the responsibility to not only hold on tight to our traditions and culture, but also elevate it, market it, and put it out to the world. Sometimes it's hard for me to find that balance. It's hard. I overcome the controversy by just moving forward and following my heart, because when you look at the numbers and we pay attention to the individuals who join the troop, we have people who have come as far as from Guam. There was this one lady who was in Korea with the National Guard, and she found her way back home, right? So my festival troop isn't just solely 100% Crucians or Virgin Islanders. We have a major group of individuals who actually come in from different places, and that's how I know that the work that I'm doing and the direction that we're heading is greater, right, than the conversation that people are having. Not that the conversations that people are having are not important, and that is why taking all of that into consideration and utilizing the controversy to fuel our next step, I'm now in the space of finding that smooth spot to make sure that everybody is represented, all age groups are represented. And while you can't please everyone, it is important to listen to those opinions, have those conversations, see where folks are at, because you don't want the individuals who have put in work into Carnival and Festival before my time to feel as if they're being pushed out.
That well said. That is well said. That you do have a grasp of being inside, working there, and being inside, being a designer, and you're taking everything into consideration. So, well said. Thank you. And so I don't want to peek too much into what it is that you're doing and what's coming up. I know that you mentioned a little snippet as to what you're thinking on creating for this upcoming season for Festival 2024. But being the key person in St. Croix, and being the assistant, so do you go back and forth? Because believe it or not, you're my first Crucian guest, so thank you for that as well.
You're
So
welcome.
the fact that St. Thomas Carnival is coming up and your position as assistant commissioner, what is it that you have coming up? The lineups, what's going on that in that venture?
So the division of festivals is headed by Ian Turnbull. He is the director, and then we have assistant directors for each respective island. So we're responsible for curating and putting together the festivals. But the fun part of it is we are actually able to work, as a team within the other districts. So St. Thomas Carnival is the next big thing, probably the hottest thing to drop in a very long time. And what I love that the Queen did is we found things that worked really well in St. Croix, and we were able to fine tune it and incorporate it in St. Thomas, which, that's what it's all about, right? It's all about growing the product, finding out what works for each island and seeing how we could build on it and then incorporate it to move the festival and carnival product and brand forward. So, we're doing really good work there. St. Thomas Carnival, like saying Crucian Christmas Festival, St. Thomas Carnival actually kicks off at the first event next week, Saturday, the Prince and Princess pageant. But the village the Festival Village opens, or Carnival Village opens April 29th, and that's going to run straight through May 4th. But in between there, you have the traditional Carnival Queen pageant, you have the Prince and Princess pageant, you have the boat race, you have the food fair. So we're responsible for hosting all of those events. I used to take my carnival troop over to St. Thomas, but logistically it just became too much. So folks are asking for us to bring a troop over, but I'm like, no, we're not doing that.
You're not coming over? Are you coming over?
We used to. We haven't in a while. We haven't in a while, and I don't think that it is something that I'm in a space to do right now. Because what I do is during St. Thomas Carnival, I actually support other carnival troops local to those islands, St. Thomas and St.
So you
John.
assist with helping troops in St. Thomas as well?
Yes.
In addition to the two you're working at?
Yes, I'm not doing any physical work as it relates to putting costumes together, but I'm, providing some support as it relates to like resources and vendors and stuff like that. But then, when my members are asking me, well, are we going over? I'm telling my members no, but this is who we're supporting. This is the direction that we're going. This is where we're purchasing costumes. Ultimately, this is our partner for St. Thomas.
Got you. I understand that. Oh, that means that's good. I like that.
Yes.
So when is it that you sleep again? I'm sorry, we didn't speak about that.
I'm sorry.
Do you sleep? If you're doing all these things, when do you rest? Because it just seems like you're going at
I
your
don't,
job.
I don't, I
And
honestly
activity,
don't
when do
take,
you take that time in between to just pause?
I
Is it
don't
only
take
when
time
you're
to pause. I honestly don't take any time to pause. My brain is constantly working around the clock. I've mastered the art of power napping, um, especially throughout the season because that 30 minutes will refuel you for 3 hours, right? So I've mastered that art. But my brain is constantly working around the clock, thinking about what is next, thinking about how we can elevate the brand, thinking about what we can incorporate, thinking about, even from a festival standpoint, thinking about what direction, what can we do to grow the festival brand, what ideas can I present, what partners can we work with, who can we incorporate and tie into a festival. So my brain is literally just turning all the time, round the clock. So
So
I don't
as
get.
your brain, you said that you started this as a teenager, 16 years old. What is it that, is there a group of young people that you speak to? Do you mentor some young people that may have a vision or interest in not only being a reveler or playing mass, but wants to learn the craft of designing and coming up with these ideas?
Yeah, so my entire team, I'm the only one who had the experience with festival as it relates to my team. So my entire team, we're all taught by me. What I'm in the process of doing is I'm trying to find that one person who may have interests, but not. I want somebody young. I want somebody either outside of high schools or the junior high schools, who may really have an interest to move festival forward. Outside of looking for that one particular individual, I'm working with some other individuals presently who have interest in starting carnival troops, so I'm assisting there as well. I think what people realize is, wow, it's not a cheap venture. And people, I think the logistics of putting a festival troop on the road is kind of what scares people. But I let folks know, like, if you're in it, you're in it. And the first year isn't always the easiest, but it's just getting over a hump, and building on your brand. I started my festival troop with 26 high school students. And I've been fortunate to be in that space. And from then, like I said, we service over 1,000 members, over 1,200 members. And these are individuals that we have one-on-one relationships with, throughout the entire process from beginning to end. At one point, I used to be able to identify all of my members. I'm not in a space where I can do that right now because what I've done is
Well,
with the.
now we're over 1,000 members, but
Yeah, well, the thing is, the person on my team who's now dealing with the members, she know the members one-on-one. So when I took the job as the assistant director in festivals, I took a step back from my festival troop as it relates to just the interaction with folks on a day-to-day. Those girls, they handle all of the registration, all of the paperwork, all of that stuff. I'm handling the finances and the purchasing of materials and the booking of entertainment and this the logistics for the parade day. And so there's so much more to what we do than just pull costumes on the street for people to have a good time. It is a year-long worth of planning.
yeah.
There are some very, very high moments and there are some very, very, very low moments. But I have a strong team and I honestly cannot take the credit by myself. I'll do the designs and I'll put the designs together, but just the amount of time that goes into just preparing, the last 2 weeks of December into the first week of January, we're literally working 24 hours around the clock. Everybody on my team is employed. We all have 8 to 5s. But then once we clock out at 5 o'clock, 5:30 we're together, and sometimes we're together until the sun come up the next morning. That
Wow.
last week, which is the most important week, which we suffer with mental exhaustion. Everybody is physically burnt out. Everybody is also socially burned out as well because at this point we've spent so much time together. We just want to get it done. That is a true test. Um, to our love and passion for festival, right? that last week, and I'm talking about it, and I'm like mentally I'm back in the space because that last week, the last week, which is the most work, which requires the most logistics, when you are at you're like your very end, that's the most important week. But I have a good team. I have a good team.
Right now, I'm hearing in the motorcade. There's a motorcade that's going on, and I'm
Yes,
assuming it's the carnival motorcade that's starting.
yes. There's a
They
motorcade with
must,
the
you must
Prince
go
and Princess contestants.
by the studio because I'll be on.
Love
So,
it.
as you said,
Carnival
so
is in the air.
this is uh, constantly around the year type of thing. So it's not just like the last half of the year. You're planning and designing. So when you end, you start again, and you end and you start again. Is that the process that you've been doing for the past 16 years?
Yes. When festival is over, the parade is the Saturday. The village closes on a Saturday, and everybody going back home. I have 2 weeks of things work to still do, cleaning up the mass camp, putting things back in storage. I'm doing all of that stuff. But when that is all done, I probably will take a week off the most, and I am right back into it. As it relates to maybe team concepts, design concepts, what we want to represent. It's a lot of work, and I literally do this around the clock all year long. So it's I don't really take a break, to be honest. It's just like as of right now, in like this present moment where we are for the upcoming festival season. I'm right now in the process of doing some like rebranding and making some changes because there are different things that we want to do with Simply this year and with us, trying to seamlessly tie bikini and beads with all mass. I'm working out the kinks there, so I'm trying to figure that out. But then the design process haven't even necessarily start. Um, everything right now is in the boxes behind me. I do play mass, and that's an next part of it too. So I come on the road in my carnival costumes. I'm doing all of that stuff, or I'm putting together the costumes, and I don't even know what I want to wear. So I one of the very 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 last things that I do is I do my costume, and sometimes my costume is being made hours before the parade. I'm watching the sunrise sometime, and I'm still gluing feathers on my costume. But I've been playing mask. In the existence of Simply Sophisticated from 2008 until now, I've only not played mask one time, and I still accompany the troupe on the road. So I'm in it. Not only from behind the scenes, but very much in the midst of the preparation as well as the revelry.
That's wonderful. I was trying to put myself on mute, and because all the promotion that was going back. So keep continuing. But let me ask you, so with all of this that you're doing and working on your personal troupe and creating the designs and having a phenomenal team beside you, because I can attest, having a great team is very, very important. That's why I'm so grateful to Crystal and Kiana. Those are my rock. And let's talk about you. Those two ladies are phenomenal. What advice would you give? I know that you're looking for young people to be a part so you can train them. But what is it that you will tell not only the young version of you, but a young person that may just be interested in some type of craft? Why would this be something that they should consider?
I could go on and on about that. I'll say this first. When I talk to kids, I always tell kids to find something that they're interested in, and become a master of it. It doesn't matter if it's doing hair, doing nails, fixing cars. Identify your passion. Um, I think one of the most dreadful things, at least for myself, is doing something that I am not interested in or don't have any, heart. Right? If my heart ain't into it, I'm not doing it, because I value my time, and I value my energy. So one, find a skill, find something that you're passionate about, and build on it. If I could tell my younger self something, as it relates to what I'm doing now, I would tell my younger self to don't stop believing. When I started this, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I had no idea how I was going to do it. I know what I wanted to do. And I had no idea that it would have been around for such a long period of time. All I know is Complex in doing a troupe, we doing a troupe, we're going to make it happen. And I was so blessed to be in a space at that time with a group of individuals, adults who had believed in me and believe in the vision. And they ride with me throughout that time from then until now to this very day. They still stand by my side. They still have my back. They still believe in the vision and what I'm doing. And then for anybody who may have interest in, starting a festival troupe or putting any kind of entry into the parade, it doesn't matter. It could be a Mokojumbi group, it could be a majorette, it could be a festival troupe, it could be a band. It is very important that we remember, keep at heart that festival and carnival is a part of our identity as not only Virgin Islanders but West Indian people. And in a time where we're watching or we're noticing that the industry is changing, it is very important that we make sure that our part is being played, right? We do not, should not, cannot afford to lose that. I've watched the adults parade grow from 50 entries to 20 entries. I've watched the band culture in the Virgin Islands go from 10 different bands to just 2 bands. I don't want for us to ever lose the essence of who we are. So get involved. What people don't know about me is I actually use a masquerade with Miss Asta Williams in the parade. And that's something I've been doing way before, I even thought that would have been caught up in feathers and masks. But all I know is about masquerading. So again, identify something, find your part, play your part, and make sure that you're involved in the process. It is very challenging. It could be very challenging. In some moments, you might want to just not have anything to do with it, rest it down, but don't allow for those challenging moments to be the end all. Because throughout this entire time, I faced a number of challenges, but my passion is what I led with. And we're here today. And now, we're in a space where we're thinking to ourselves, well, how are we going to continue this at these numbers, right? Because every year I'm telling my team, I cut back the numbers. We ain't doing this anymore. And then folks come and I mend and I bend. So I just told my sister, I was like, listen, we want to cut the troop down to 500 people. And she watched me and she rolled her eyes because she done already know. I give in, right? I give in. But that's because I'm so passionate and I want everybody to have the experience. So, find your part, find your role, and make sure that remember that what you're doing is a part of who we are, what we do as West Indian people, and we don't want to ever lose the essence of it. One lesson,
I love it. I love it. Go ahead.
one lesson that I've learned throughout the years is the importance of communication. As cliche as it sounds, I've always been very, very, very good at bringing a bunch of random people together to work on a code. That's a gift that God gave me, right? I could take 10
You
random
do seem
people.
to have a real infectious personality.
Yeah, I could take 10 random people from 10 completely different places, bring them in a room, and we could work on one goal. And I didn't realize how good I was at that until one of my friends identified it a few years ago. In doing so, I learned the importance of communication, but I also learned the importance of meeting people where they're at in a creative space, right? Because we all create different. We're all inspired by different things. We all process differently. But specific to us working on Carnival, sometimes we're in different spaces, and the goal is to just get a project done, see the project
Yeah.
through. And I tell my friends all the time, I tell my team all the time, and I'm pretty stern with this, but I think that they get it, right? I tell my friends all the time, I really don't care what space we are in this moment. But our priority is to make sure that we treat people good and give people a good experience and people come back. So I know that I was able to get through to my team because when I'm not around and I come around, their response to me being there is, what are you doing here? right? So they don't need me. They don't need me. So that's how I know that I was able to make it happen. I got through to them the way that I wanted to get through to them. But again, that was just based off of communication and meeting people where they are.
Which is a valuable key to any relationship,
Yeah.
communication. And I love that your main focus is let your passion, move forward the pressure. Your passion should be greater than the pressure. And
Correct.
that's why you're where you are today. I mean, I have truly enjoyed. I can't believe we've been on for this time and you've brought such a wealth of knowledge. You've brought down, you've answered so many questions that I've had over the years of how the carnival costumes have changed. You've talked about your creative passion and portion and where it came from the lack of, you decided why not, and you just did it and done.
Yes. Yeah. I love it. I really breathe it. I just absolutely love what I do. But I think the most important thing that I remind myself about and a constant is I'm in a space to strike change, influence change. But my legacy is important. The legacy of my brands are important to me, and I want to make sure that we're just always in the right space at the right time. And as stewards of what we do, we just want to make sure that folks are represented. We keep the key components of our culture alive, and as things transition, we do not lose who we are.
Oh yes, you definitely seem to be doing that, and I'm glad that you want to bring what was in what's going on now and bring it because we are growing. We are
Yeah,
growing, we're changing, and everything is different. And we understand that. Sometimes we don't always agree with the change. Change is the only one thing that people never can get comfortable with. That's the
correct,
only thing that makes every person uncomfortable. It's that thing
correct,
called change. And I thank you for your creativity, your wisdom that you think not outside the box. Because at the end of the day, you're right. You can't please everybody, but you're open to listening and meet them where they at creatively, and you do whatever it takes to get your job done. So thank you for what you do. Thank you
you're
for saying
welcome.
yes to be a part of Let's Talk About You. And I want us to talk another time more whenever you have time, because I know you're such a busy person. So thank you so much for your time. And do you want to share one more snippet or anything that you want to share with our listening audience? It could be based on your role as the assistant commissioner. It could be based on your role. And I love your advice that you gave anyone. But is there anything else that you would like to share with us?
Um, Again, I would just encourage folks to, find something that you're passionate about, get involved and do it. When the Division of
Yes.
Festivals was officially created in 2019, I had no idea that I would have been the one tapped to be the first assistant director for the district of St. Croix. Sometimes, one of the I guess the biggest lesson that I've learned throughout the time is as it relates to the professional side of it. Sometimes I'm not always able to lead with my passion per se because I have to think about what makes sense from a business perspective. But working, on a day to day around festival, around carnival, being in the carnival space have also helped to mold me into a different type of individual and also understand the business side of it from a different sense. But again, find something that you're passionate about. Do it. Go all in. Don't give up. And we hear it all the time. But as someone who constantly live it, I could tell you that it is just a true testament to your character. I've
Yes.
questioned my love for festival a number of times. I've questioned myself if this is something that I really want to still do. I've thought about pulling out of it, right? Because sometimes it gets so stressful. But something, the honest truth is, the day I decide that I'm done with this, I don't think that I would ever be able to find something that makes me as happy and content. I love what I do.
Don't forget the only constant is change. So don't
The
say
only
that. You
constant
never
is
know.
the only constant is change. I don't, and even if I decide that I'm not going to host a carnival troupe or a festival troupe anymore, I'm 100% sure that I'll still be caught up in the culture, because there are other parts of it that I like to get involved in. I made a commitment to an elementary school. They're interested in, bringing an entry into the parade. I tell them if they're serious about it, we can make it happen. So I want to contribute in a different space, in a different way. I'm not just only involved in the bikini and beads, as well as the walk up and broke down of it, but also in cultivating what's next, making sure that it is still alive. Because how I was able to identify and find my love was in elementary school, and I don't know what student or what students or which students I might be able to touch. So, just being in a space and being able to share my knowledge, and pick interest again into anything that folks might be passionate about. That is where I find my true love.
Thank you so much for having so much passion that it overtook and overshadowed the pressure. And thank you so much for where you are and where it is that you're going to take us here in the Virgin Islands. Thank you so much for being a part of Let's Talk About You. I'll see you behind the scenes. I just want to say we're here in April. I had a fabulous, fabulous conversation with you, Mr. Haynes, and don't let this be the last time. I just want to say happy Sunday. Stay blessed on purpose and take care. See you guys.